Well, welcome everyone to Inside Out in the T-shirt industry. Marshall, thanks for joining us today. My good friend, and I love that you're so involved in the industry in so many different ways, from consulting to running Shirt Lab to obviously helping us out. So I'm really excited to use this recording today to introduce this wonderful ebook that we collaborated on with you to really bring out all this wonderful knowledge that you have about this industry and share it with our audience broadly. So Marshall, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Well, Mark, I'm so happy to be here. I love working with the team at Gooten. You guys are rock stars and doing a lot of heavy lifting and helping people with sales. And I think what you guys are doing is the natural evolution for this industry. And I'm just excited to be a part of it. So thank you for allowing me to help you with the ebook and also to be here today to talk about it.
Well, speaking of which, just so everyone knows, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Gooten, and we'll introduce Gooten in a second. But Marshall, do you want to just give folks a little bit of your background and sort of what makes you an expert in this industry so that they can have an appreciation for the conversation today?
Yeah, well, thanks. So I've been in this industry since 1993 officially. Before then, I was actually doing t-shirts like in college and stuff. I don't know if that even counts, but I've been doing stuff with t-shirts for a really long time. And I kind of got into the industry through the back door right before then in the early 90s. I started a t-shirt company to help me finance my graduate degree. I was getting a master's in architecture, and I started a company to sell t-shirts to fraternity and sororities. And back then, it was no computers. I did everything by hand, crazy, right? And the company that printed my shirts for me hired me as their art director, right? So, and that was January 3rd, 1993. And I've been involved in this industry ever since. I worked for that company for a month shy of 18 years and then moved on to an even bigger company and ran that company as their chief operating officer until 2016. I moved here to Arizona to work for a company called Inksoft to help them build a customer-facing management tool. And then I left them a year later just to consult full-time in 2018. I've actually been consulting with shops and helping them out since 2010. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I've got a pretty good handle on some things, but I'll tell you, Mark, I don't know everything. I don't think anybody does, because this industry is constantly evolving. It's constantly changing, and that's what makes it exciting. Okay. And I love it. So there's all kinds of new things all the time coming up, and I'm always learning. So,
well, I was going to say part of that learning is you created Shirt Lab really as a forum for people to learn, right, and participate in the community and ask questions, not just of you, but of each other. And I think that's really, what it's taking right now is we have to learn from each other.
Yeah. So Shirt Lab started in 2018. And it really just evolved. I have a partner, his name's Tom Rowan. He owns a shop in Dubuque, Iowa. And we started that because we saw a real need for sales and marketing training, because I think everybody does a pretty good job of decorating. They pretty got a good handle on how to do that, but where they often fail is in the sales end of things. So how to run a better website, how to create online stores, how to use social media as your advantage, right? So we created Shirt Lab as a way to do that, and it was started originally as a live sales and marketing workshop that we did our first one in 2018 in Columbus, Ohio. 2019 we had 4 events, one in St. Louis, one in Washington D.C., one in Portland, Oregon, and one in Atlanta, Georgia. COVID hit, and that pretty much put the kibosh on the live events. So we started doing a virtual events, and then we started our Shirt Lab Tribe mastermind group because of COVID, right? And so that's grown to 150 member group, and we do a lot of really fun stuff there. We're having our first live event in 2 years, since 2019, right? Coming up in September in Fort Worth as an right after the Fort Worth ISS show. We're very excited about that. It's going to be 2 days of education, dynamic speakers, all kinds of fun. And we're putting together the details on that right now. We have all our speakers lined up, but it's just venues and whatnot. But so that's going to be lots of fun. And we're here for you. And so enough of that. Let's get talking about this book.
Doing. All right. So just real quickly, for folks who are new to Gooten, we operate a smart supply chain for on-demand production. And so we cover a number of different kind of product lines, whether it's apparel, home goods, or wall art. We cover it all. We work with thousands of merchants across the country and around the world. And so we're really excited to focus on the garment or the apparel space today, in particular t-shirts, since we have you, the expert here today, Marshall. And for folks that are tuning in, today is the official day we're releasing. It's a 40-page ebook, Marshall. I don't know if you realized when you started working on this with us that it was going to turn out to be 40 pages long, but there's significant knowledge that you've transferred into this ebook for our audience. So the ebook itself will be going live today on our website, so people can come and download it. We'll start to promote it more widely. Obviously, please tell your folks, Marshall, as well. But what I thought we'd do today is just kind of cover off on some of the key things that you cover in the ebook that people will find in more detail, and you know, kind of use this as almost like the coming out party for the book.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited about the book. It was a lot of fun to write. Frankly, it could have been 4,000 pages long. It wasn't how it was like what to leave out. I mean, we could go really deep into a lot of this stuff. So, but the ebook really, I think, is a good primer for people who really don't, who aren't experts, who need a kind of a guide just to get them started. I mean, what does all this stuff mean? There's a lot of esoteric terms, and there's a lot of stuff that you'll hear in the industry. And of course, there's nowhere to go to kind of learn this stuff. I guess Mother Google, right? But you know, I think
people would have to piece the story together all by themselves. It's hard.
Yeah,
I think what you did with the ebook is you just put it all together. I mean, it's kind of like its own reference guide.
Right. Yeah. And that was my goal. And I think, you know, you're exactly right. So instead of like hopscotching everywhere, is one place you can find it all. I think this book really kind of covers the basic tale of the tape, so to speak, to get going and understand the market and what do you need to do.
Got it. All right, so let's dive into it. Why don't you hit on a couple of highlights throughout, you know, some of the key sections of the ebook. You had a section on fabrics. You know, what should people know about fabrics, and what do you want them to take away?
Well, first off, with fabrics, every t-shirt is different, right? And I don't even know how many different t-shirt manufacturers there are. I guess I should count, right? But there's a bunch of them.
I don't have enough fingers.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, and they all have different models and brands and SKUs, and it gets really complicated quick. So I wanted to start with the t-shirt blank. Before we talk about the decoration, I think you got to talk about the foundational element, which is the shirt. And the reason why you really want to start with the shirt is because shirts are created differently for different uses. And you really kind of need to start with that because, you know, a shirt, like, I don't know, your online store or your market, but you're going to do things differently that for a bunch of Harley Davidson bikers than you would for like a little girl's dance troupe. They're going to want different things, right? Fabric is in the cut of the shirt is something that I think is really going to help you understand some things with that. And so if you go to the next slide, we can look at some of these details. So we're going to start with the yarn. Okay. And there's a term that you're going to hear, which is the term called singles, right? So the singles for the yarn is all about how many times the fibers, the cotton fibers or the polyester fibers or whatever, how many times they're actually spun, right? And the more that they work that fiber, the better the fiber gets and the better the yarn gets, right? So what you want is what they call, for really super high end stuff, you'll hear 30 singles or sometimes even higher, right? And it's just like your bed sheets. I don't know about you, Mark. I don't like to sleep on 100 thread count sheet, right? I like the real soft ones.
Thousand, baby.
Right? Yeah, right. So you don't want the rough stuff. So on t-shirts, if it's under 30 singles, typically it's a little rougher shirt, okay? And with that, because the fiber isn't worked as much, it's a cheaper t-shirt, right? So if you want something a little higher end, you want when they feel the shirt, that's called the hand. When you feel it with your hand, that's called the hand. So how soft is that shirt? You want a higher thread count. So you want 30 singles or higher. Also, these higher thread count shirts, it makes the print or the embroidery or the digital or whatever, it makes it adhere to the shirt a little better. It makes it a little nicer, right? So it's the foundational part of the print is going to be the yarn. And that's why we start with that, okay? The next thing is the weight, right? And a lot of times you'll see the weight of the shirt. It's a 4.3 ounce t-shirt. It's a 5.5 ounce shirt. That doesn't mean that that t-shirt weighs 5.5 ounces. Okay. And a lot of people think that, and they're basing their shipping estimates on that. And it's totally wrong. Okay. So the 5.5 ounces means that a square yard of that fabric for the t-shirt weighs 5.5 ounces. That's what that means. Right. So the weight of the shirt could be completely different than that. Right.
Right. Because you may use a lot more in.
Yeah. Right. Well, a triple X is going to weigh more than a small. Right. So don't make the assumption that it weighs 5.5 ounces. I can't tell you how many people stub their toe on that. Right. So that's one I wanted to include in the book. The next is tubular or side seam. Right. So it's cheaper to mill the shirt in a big tube and attach the sleeves to it, right, than to make actual fabric and then cut and sew and make the shirt like you do with any other garment, right? Tubular t-shirts are cheaper than side seam t-shirts. Side seam t-shirts fit better, right? So if you want to go the cheap as you can get, and there's plenty of applications for that, there's business needs for that. Find a under 30 single tubular shirt. It's probably going to be the cheapest in the market, right? You want something a little fits a little nicer, right? Get something that's side seamed, right? That means it's actually there's a pattern. It's tapered. It fits your body better, right? That's a good tip, right? And then the last thing here is fabric content. Is it 100% cotton? Is it polyester? Is it a tri-blend? What is in that shirt? Fabric content means a whole lot. It means that the decoration sometimes has to be done a little differently, right? And we can get into that a little bit later. But and then also with 100% cotton, did you know there's two types of cotton, right? There's Pima cotton. You may have heard of that, right? That's most of the cotton on the planet is Pima cotton. It's really great cotton, right? It's the long staple cotton. That's what you need, right? Supima cotton is the only cotton that's actually grown in the United States. So if you're looking for made in the USA, whatever, you want to make sure that it's Supima cotton because you know that that's actually made here domestically.
Got it. Wow. Great insights already. All right, let's keep going. Garment selection.
Yeah. So garment selection is all about what type of shirt do you want? And if you go to the next slide, we can talk about, because frankly, I forgot what I wrote. So,
Hey, Marshall, we
right.
got this great ebook just came
Yeah,
out today.
right.
If you need a reference.
Yeah, yeah. So, so anyway, so garment selection, you always want to know what does your customer want? And look, I'm 6'5". I wear a double X. I like more boxy cut stuff because I eat ice cream and drink beer. I am not a fashion model. Okay. I got a little beer gut, right? I don't like some brands because they don't fit me, right?
Right.
But guess
Right.
what? If my end customer likes that, that's what I'm choosing. It doesn't matter what I like.
Yeah.
It matters what the customer likes. And that's the first thing you should be thinking about is what does your customer like? And if you don't know, what should you
Find
do,
out.
Mark?
You got to find out.
Find out. You should ask them. That's what surveys are all about. Okay.
Right.
So the next is size and cut, right? So I recommend ordering samples of shirts so you can test them out. You can see what they're like because some have collars that fit real close to the neck. Some have collars that are bigger. Some have sleeves that go all the way to the elbow. Some have sleeves that are kind of mid bicep,
Mid-arm,
right? And then let's not even get into women's t-shirts, right? So there's many different brands and styles and, fashion forward cuts and missy cuts and all kinds of stuff, right? So you really need to know what your customers like and then what's going to fit them best, right? And so I always recommend getting some samples, getting them in multiple, the size range that you're going to sell, because you'll understand more about things when you have the real product. And also, if you're looking at, for example, hoodies or anything with pockets or different things, the size of your artwork might have to be changed because on like a hoodie, like that's just without a zipper, it's just a hoodie. How big the artwork can be? You can only fit it from the bottom of the collar to the top of the pocket, right? You don't really want to go over the pocket, although you can, but you got to make some design choices and selection and talk to your printer more. So your choices here are really dependent on your shirt blank. So you really need to understand that. What are some samples? Trust me. Softness or hand makes a big difference. Some t-shirts are, it's called fibrillation. They're kind of hairy. The fibers stick up. Okay. That can become a problem when you're printing. Okay. You need to know that. And there's things that you have to do to flatten that out a little bit before you print it. Your printer should help you with that. They should know that stuff, right? So you need to know these things because it could affect the choices that you make, right? Next up is color, right? So a lot of colors are available and every shirt blank has a different range of colors. Sometimes we have availability issues, which we're having right now in the industry. And so what's available, and then also you should know that, colors don't exactly match when you're talking different brands. For example, black, right? There could be 8 or 9 different blacks out there. One's kind of a blue black, one's a dark black, one's a gray black, one's a green black, one's a kind of a blue black. If you put them all together, they all look different, but they're all black shirts, right?
That's right.
So you need to know that. What kind of black do you want? Okay. It's crazy. And then we have trims. Trims are the pocket, the zipper pull, it does for a hoodie, the strings that come out of the hoodie, they can be a different color, right? You can have contrast stitching on the shirt, right? How wide is the collar? Is it narrow? Is it thick? I mean, all these things, those are all called trims, right? So those sometimes make a difference. You need to know that, right? And the last here is the neck label, right? So sometimes you have a woven label, sometimes it's like a heat transfer, sometimes it can be a tearaway, which is popular in what because we want to put our own label in the shirt. So you get a tearaway label, so your decorator could just yank that out and they can put your label in there. And then now you're a real brand with your real label in, right? So those are all different things I would consider. The book goes into these in big detail. but this is just a Mach 7 flyover overview
Fly
here.
over everything. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key things that you've always certainly impressed upon me is getting samples and getting different, all the different kinds of samples and sizes too. Because I think you were even telling me once, like sometimes the mediums from one line are produced in one part of the world, and larges are in a different part of the world, and it's still supposed to be the same red, but the dyes that they use in one part of the world versus another are a little bit different. So making
Yeah,
sure that
right.
getting those samples and really making sure that ultimately the shirt that you're going to sell is the shirt that you know exactly what it is, and to your first point, right, it meets your customer needs.
Yep, exactly.
All right, continuing on our flyby,
Artwork. So we don't sell blank stuff much. we need to put something on it. And
That's right.
so we need to put some artwork on it, right? I'm a big believer in being original. I'm not a big fan of copying. Okay. There's a word for that. That's called plagiarism. I don't like it, right? I like doing my own stuff. I'm a designer. I like to design. So I'm kind of a picky person about that. But let's talk about placement. So there's different terms that you should learn in this industry if you don't really have a lot of experience. So a full front and a full back, those make, kind of sense, right? But, if you're going to do a chest print, there's center chest, there's left chest, there's right chest. You've got sleeve prints. On long sleeve stuff, you can print on a shoulder, you can print all the way down the sleeve, you can also print on the cuff, you can print
Right.
on the side of the shirt, you can print right behind the neck, right? On a hoodie, you can print on the back, but where does that print go? Does it print low enough where the hood doesn't cover it up, or is it print and the hood can cover the print? These are all decisions that you should make and let your printer know that so they can execute to what you want. An easy way to do this, if you don't have a lot of experience, is to actually get the shirt that you're going to print, okay? Print your design out at 100%, and then just take some Scotch tape and say, here's exactly where I want it, and then measure from the bottom of the collar to the top of your design. Is that 3 inches or is that 4 inches? Right? That's how you exactly place it, right? And I'll tell you, Mark, a long time ago, when I first started dating my wife, I'd be somewhere at the mall, at a restaurant, a game or something, and I'll be looking, and she's like, who are you looking at? Right. And I'm like, look how dumb look how off center that thing is. Look how low that is on the back. I can't believe somebody printed that. So she's used to that. And people in this industry, this is what we're always looking at, right? You can't take me to a store or the mall without me going to the t-shirts and start looking at stuff. And I'm looking at placement. I'm looking at, is it crooked? I'm looking at all this stuff all the time, because placement is one of the things that I think a lot of people get wrong. And you need to be specific about your expectations to your decorator. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because ultimately you want to make sure it fits and looks right on someone as it's hanging. So you're absolutely right.
Exactly. And you can do kind of fun placements. Like imagine a hoodie, and you just do a real small logo right in the corner of the hoodie pocket, and that's it on that hoodie. Let me tell you, I printed a gazillion hoodies like that. People love that. Okay. It's just the unusual, and it's because it's classy and it's smaller, right? It has a bigger feel to it than if you just do some huge monstrous thing,
That just looks like a giant square blob of something.
Yeah, I hate squares. Anything in a square to me says that you are a lazy designer, right? Actually. So creativity sells. Do something in your own voice. Don't copy other people, right? That's really what that's about.
I mean,
And then,
I'll just say, that's the cool thing of this industry that we're in is you can do that, right? I mean, with DTG printing, it's so easy to be as creative as you want and try so many different things. You have no excuses anymore, right? And no
nope,
risk. No
nope,
risk
nope.
of like, oh my God, I'm going to be sitting on 100 or 1,000 of these things and they're going to look
Yeah,
horrible. Like that's the fun part of this industry is be as
yeah.
creative as you want.
I'll tell you the great thing about the print on demand business model is the fact that you could have different t-shirts up every single week.
Yeah,
And the best sellers stay. The ones that don't sell get booted off the island and you put a new
yeah,
design up, right?
yeah.
And that actually is a good idea because that's going to drive viewership. Hey, what are they posting today? Right.
That's right. Yeah.
And just be really super creative. And then a lot of people get kind of brain locked when it comes to designing. All right. And so in the book, I go and there's some detail about this acronym, which is called Scamper. And this comes from Mike Michalko's famous book called Thinker Toys. And it's substitute, combine, adapt, magnify or modify, put to some other use, eliminate, rearrange, or reverse. And we don't have time to go through everything,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
pick one of those, Mark, and I'll give you an example.
How about put to some other use?
Put to some other use. Okay. So put to some other use. Here's an example from the book is that you could have a blue t-shirt and then you could screen print a bunch of logos on like a pocket shape. And then you could cut out the pocket shape on a different color shirt and then sew it onto that blue shirt. Let's say it's yellow. You sew the yellow pocket onto the blue shirt. Now you're putting it to another use.
I
That's
like that.
that's a really great example of that. And by the way, there's a term for that. That's called a frocket.
Rocket.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. So
I learned something new every single time I talk to you, Marshall. I mean, we've now talked so much over the last year
yeah, yeah,
since I started here, and like I always learn something new. So I'm taking Frocket away from today.
yeah.
I
Okay.
love it.
Yeah. Don't say that really fast and it sounds like something else, but it's okay.
My kids will love that word.
Yeah. All right.
All right, keep it going. Production.
Production. Well, we gotta be able to do our printing. And of course, we're outsourcing our stuff, right? That's the Gooten model is we don't do our own production. So I think where you really need to understand is what your in decorator needs to be able to function is information and correct information. And what you really want to do is be able to, and I'm a guy, I love sports. I use the football metaphor, right? We want to hand the football off to your decorator so they can go run and score the touchdown for you. Okay. And the football is information, right? So the key point of your order is always going to be this first thing, which is the ship date. What day do you want it to ship? Right? Is it tomorrow? Is it a week from now? That's really crucial because that tells them all the other things that they have to do. They have to organize logistically in their plant, and it has to leave by this date, right? So that's really important. The enhanced date.
I'll just say just one note on that. I mean, that gets super critical, certainly around holidays,
Oh yeah,
and then certainly towards the end of the year, as people are trying to make sure that their orders get processed in time to be
yeah,
delivered for Christmas or some other
yep.
celebration. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So the enhanced date is the day that your customer needs it, right? The travel lane is the difference between those two dates, right? So is it ground? Is it expedited? Is it overnight? Right?
Is it
So
international?
yeah, is it international? Right. So your enhanced date is the day that your customer expects it. So, and you were just talking about holiday. It doesn't do us any good for the enhanced date to be a Christmas present on December the 29th. Okay. We need to know, your decorator needs to know the enhanced date. Okay. So make sure you talk about that, right?
Yep.
The next, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you.
Okay, so the next up is the decoration method. Is this digital printing? Is this sublimation? Is this embroidery? Is this a heat transfer? How are we decorating the shirt? You need to like give specific information about how they're doing it and what the expectation is for them to execute it properly. So that's really important. Next up is the garment. So this could be the actual shirt with the SKU number. If this is the sizes, this is the quantities, this is all that information that they're using. So you're doing, they're decorating 300 shirts for you, or they're just doing 3, whatever it is, they need to know that exact information. And if you're shipping them the garments, when are they going to get them? Okay, because this really matters. See the top 2 things. When they're getting the shirts matters for the ship date and the hands date.
That's right.
Okay, so there's lots of logistics in this industry, and that is a key thing, right? I did decoration method twice. Why did I do that? I don't know. So let's just skip over that.
Doubly important.
Yeah, doubly important. So let's hit price. So we both agree on what I'm paying for that, right? The price is the thing. And then lastly, terms or conditions for your brand. So you need it in a poly bag. It has to ship in your box. We need to attach a hang tag. There's a size sticker on it, whatever, right? I know lots of people do hats, right? And then they do the sticker on the bill of the hat with their brand, right? You give them the stickers. We want the sticker exactly right here. You have to explain that to your vendor, and then they're going, there's a charge for that, but everybody should understand exactly what your expectation is, right? So you don't leave anything to chance. If you need something to look exactly the way you want it, mock it up, show them a picture of an actual sample. Maybe you do a sample proof because they're going to be doing a bunch of them. You work all this out in advance so they know what to do, because what we want more than anything is clarity, Mark. Clarity is key here. Okay.
Yeah. I was going to say, the good thing is at Gooten, we have plenty of resources for folks to come to us with all the kind of, goals or items and ways that they want to have something made. So, we're happy to share all of our experience and expertise to help them get the ultimate thing that they're looking to sell and bring to their customers. So,
yep, great.
All right, troubleshooting.
Okay. I wish I could tell you that your order is going to go perfectly. But experience in this industry, did I mention I've been doing this since 1993?
Been doing this for a while.
has it told me that not everything goes according to plan. Okay. The vendor could do everything perfectly, and then UPS loses it, or they deliver to the wrong address, or something was misinterpreted, or whatever. There's a million things that can happen. Okay. The key here, though, is that if you want to succeed in this business, you have to understand we're all about solving the problem. And we have to really kind of put our detective hat on and figure out not only how it happened, but how we're going to make it right. Okay. Right. So what we need to know is specifically, what is the problem? Okay. Was the thing misdelivered? Can we reroute it? Because I've had tons of stuff where UPS gave it to the neighbor, right? They just gave it to the wrong house. Can the neighbor just walk it next door, right? Do we need to do a claim and everything, or can we just get them to handle it for us, right? Do we need to have it reshipped? Do we need to do a call tag? I mean, what do we need to do, right? Also, is it, you've shipped a shirt and they asked for a large, but in reality, Mark, they really needed a double X, if you know what I'm saying, right? So is that your fault? Is that your vendor's fault, right? That the shirt didn't fit? And what are we going to do about it, right? So how are we going to make it right for your customer? Maybe your decorator did it's exactly right, but your customer just doesn't like it, right? Yeah. That's a whole different scenario. How do we resolve that, right? So And then
So much,
sometimes,
so much of, I was just gonna say, so much of what we do collectively here
yeah,
is expectation settings, it seems
yep,
like, right? It's just like, look, things are gonna go wrong, and then, like you said, prepare for how to handle it on the back end,
yeah,
if and when those things do go wrong. But
right. Well, tons of companies don't try to get that shirt back, even though it costs them money, because you know what? Getting all that done is just not worth the hassle. Like I know you've probably ordered from a company and they said, "Hey, just keep it. We'll ship another one."
right,
Right?
exactly.
Uh,
Easier.
is way easier, right? I don't know what if you're listening how you want to do it, because you got to like start over with the new thing. That's something you might want to take in consideration, though.
That's right.
But we
I
want to
think,
look at the info, right?
yeah,
So was it your customer's information what that was wrong? Was it the information that you gave the
yeah,
vendor? Did the vendor do it wrong? I mean, we're not really trying to blame anybody. We're just trying to correct it for next time, right?
that's
So
right.
that's something you should be looking at. And then
I
the
think
product,
it still goes back to these setting the expectations all the way to the consumer. That
yep,
I think consumers are just starting to understand that a lot of the shirts and items that they purchase are in essence produced on demand, and that's a relatively, I think, new concept for them. That, wow, this isn't just sitting on a shelf at Amazon and someone just picks it and puts it in the box and sends it to me, but when I order the shirt and it has my name on it too, right, like that actually is a unique item of one that has to be produced on demand.
right.
And there's a lot that goes into producing one shirt and making it sure it gets to the right person at the right time.
Yeah, and that's the magical thing that happens, and it's going to happen
Yeah.
correct almost always,
Yep.
right? But
Yeah.
you're going to deal with problems in this business, and you have to just be calm and be professional and figure it out and do the right thing and move on to the next one, right?
That's
And
right.
so that's kind of the gist of what I want to say here. And then there's also production process things. They printed it in the wrong color. It's crooked, whatever, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and then working with your vendor, how are they going to rectify that, right? So we just want to kind of like things happened and it gets out. There's nothing they can do about it, but I think if you're dealing with people who are professional in this industry, they want to make it right. So, and then lastly, here is how can something be corrected so it won't happen again? That's what we want to do. What are the processes or controls that we can put into place to solve whatever happened, right?
Right.
And knowing full well, there's some things that are unsolvable. We can't make UPS deliver it to the right mailbox. Like that's going to happen, right?
It's
But
gonna happen.
how are we going to do it? How are we going to deal with that, right? And so we just have to figure it out and make the best thing for it.
Sounds good. All right, Marshall, I know we're kind of wrapping up here on time with
Right.
you. Luck favors the prepared.
Yeah, luck favors the prepared. And Mark, it's okay if I go a little long. Luck favors the
Okay.
prepared is all about setting yourself up for success by partnering with the right people, right? Like Gooten, for example, right? And then really kind of like what else is out there? Be asking questions, do the research. I'm a big believer in reading. I read a lot. I'm kind of a nerd, right? Asking lots of people questions, looking for best practices, and not having the concrete headed way of thinking of this is the way we've always done it, right?
Yeah.
Because there's new technology every day. Somebody's got a new app, right? Somebody's got a new way of doing something or promoting, or right now TikTok is huge. 5 years from now, TikTok won't exist. Something else will be
Something
even
else.
better and crazier. Okay, so you just you got to get in there, mess around, get dirty, figure it out, do something else, and just keep growing. And luck favors prepared is because if you are already experimenting with stuff, if you're already trying things, even if they don't work, what is that? That's called data.
Yeah.
We're going to learn
I
from
mean,
it.
I just keep going back to that's the coolest thing about this industry now with DTG is you can just keep experimenting, right? The cost to experiment is so low that if you're not experimenting, right, you're not doing your job. You're not following exactly what you're kind of outlined here. And like I still even one of the other things, tips that you had given me on even ordering samples was to cut the shirt in half up the middle and see how it washes, and what the wash looks like against the original. And I
Yep.
mean, I think it's just the ability to experiment now is so cool, and apply your creativity in new ways to figure out what works and what works
Mhm.
for your customers, and just keep innovating. I think that's the power of the platform.
Yep. Yep. Was that the
So
last slide?
I think that was the last slide, Marshall. You made
Cool.
it.
Oh,
So, Marshall, again, I can't thank you enough for giving so much time to producing this wonderful ebook for us. We're excited to launch it here today. It'll be up on our website. We'll make sure you have all the links to send out to your followers and stuff. We'll get it posted up and highlighted. And we're just super excited to have worked with you on it. And we look forward to what we can do next with you.
well, I'm really excited about it, Mark. I think it came out wonderful. Your team did a great job of putting it together. And I think it's really needed in this industry, and a lot of people are going to learn from it. So
I,
thanks for the opportunity. It was great.
Yeah, well, thank you again. I'm excited to get it out to folks and get some feedback, and see what other questions people have. And we'll start working on the next one soon.
Great.
Thanks, Marshall.